Thank you, Sensei. Thank you. God damn it. Viva la revolution!
One Battle After Another is the best film of 2025. I gotta be honest with y'all, it's your casual cinema bro. Let's get to it. PTA, better known as Paul Thomas Anderson, directed and wrote One Battle After Another, a movie about a former revolutionary named Bob who must reunite with his daughter Willa when the evil Colonel Lockjaw, the biggest threat to Bob's former group, resurfaces after 16 years. Or if we're being honest, this is basically a Maury paternity episode between a white supremacist and a black revolutionist. Either way, this is a great movie. One Battle After Another will win one Oscar after another. Now, these are just my opinions. However, I predict this movie winning Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Director, and Best Motion Picture. At least 3 out of those 4. Honestly, its biggest competition is Ryan Coogler's Sinners for Best Director and Best Picture. Now, before I get into who's winning what and why, we gotta talk about the 2 leads of the film, Leonardo DiCaprio and Chase Infinity. These 2 were phenomenal and should get nominated for Best Actor and Best Actress going into the Oscar. However, I don't see them winning. Chase odds are a lot better than Leo's, who will be facing tougher competition, especially Timothée Chalamet for his role in Marty Supreme. I love their dynamic as Bob and Willa. The movie starts out with them in a weird place in their relationship as father and daughter.
You're hungover and you got home at 3 o'clock in the morning.
What are you, my babysitter? What?
Daughter. Willa comes off as the parent while Bob is the child. He was once the explosive guy for the French 75, but after years of being in hiding with Willa, he's lost his way. He's used a lot of drugs and alcohol to cope with the loss of Perfidia and other members of the French 75.
I've fried my brain since then, man. I have abused drugs and alcohol for the past 30 years, man.
I've heard some people even say Bob is a representation of not everyone should be a revolutionary. Listen, I call bullshit. My guy has a daughter. Of course this nigga's gonna be rusty. He doesn't have time to throw up the fists and set off bombs. As soon as Willa was born, we saw the shift. He was ready to be a stay-at-home dad. And if we're gonna be honest, most explosive guys in movies, they're a little off. And I thought Leo played a great washed-up explosive guy. Next, we gotta talk about Willa. She was paying for the sins for 3 different people in this movie, and 2 of them she didn't even know. She was a badass, but unfortunately she had to be one. She was born into a world she didn't ask to be in, forced to follow strict rules just to stay low-key due to her parents' actions, only to find out her mom wasn't a hero she's been told she was her whole life. And biologically, her dad isn't her dad. She's a rat to the resistance and a mutt to the white supremacists. But like I mentioned before, she's a badass. She faces this head on. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. She's definitely Perfidia's daughter, except she's not a runner. In my opinion, her character doesn't really break until she actually has to take a life. Luckily, at that point, she reunites with Bob and we get a reset on the relationship. She can finally be the child again while Bob can finally be her father and protector. The payoff for the reunion was perfect. Just like the title says, it was one battle after another throughout this movie. So when they finally got to hug and embrace each other, it was heartwarming. All right, now let's talk about who I think should actually take home of these Oscars, and more importantly, why. First is Best Supporting Actress. This award has Tiana Taylor's name written all over it for her role as Perfidia. This is a well-crafted character, even down to the name. Perfidia is the Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian word for perfidy, which means betrayal. And that's exactly what she does in her short amount of time on screen. That betrayal becomes a haunting black cloud known as Perfidia Beverly Hills, and it lingers in every scene. Kudos to Tiana Taylor for being able to bring this character to life. In the 40 minutes that she spent on screen, we got to witness every shade of Perfidia. She was full of life, fighting for the cause. She was in love. We saw the shame, the guilt, the regret, but she escapes it all because at the end of the day, she is a runner. If we're strictly talking about impact, what her character does reminds me of the 2017's Best Supporting Actor winner Mahershala Ali. His presence was felt throughout the whole movie despite only being in the first act. He was praised for his depth, complexity, and showing the humanity of a drug dealer. And I feel like that's exactly what Teyana Taylor did with her character, Perfidia Beverly Hills. Next is Best Supporting Actor. This should go to Sean Penn for his performance as Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw. I hate this nigga. I hate everything about this guy. He really made my blood boil. I wanted his demise to be 100 times worse than what he actually got. But what's crazy was he was also terrifying and unpredictable, which made a lot of his scenes tense. This man was like a real life Jaws, always popping up behind someone. One scene in particular, the courthouse bathroom scene, he unexpectedly showed up behind Perfidia. That moment had her in the theater frozen, like what the hell is he about to do now? Not only does he use white privilege, but he has the entire US Army behind him. Sean really acted his ass off. He was a true villain and true embodiment of hate. If this isn't an Oscar level supporting performance, I don't know what is. Now for Best Director, this can go either way. Like I said before, Ryan Coogler can very well win this award for Sinners, but I'm going to give Paul Thomas Anderson the edge for this one. He was in rare form. This movie was perfectly paced. It's 2 hours and 42 minutes, but you don't even feel it. There's something always happening, one battle after another, no pun intended. Every frame felt intentional, accompanied by a great score that gave each zoomed in and zoomed out shot elevated emotions. Lastly, he shot the car chase scene of the year, which wasn't even scripted originally. On the Director's Cut podcast, Paul spoke on this. He was scouting locations for 4 hours on those roads.
These discoveries are there if you're patient and the movie gods are on your side. And we kind of mapped it all out and we designed it.
Then a light bulb went off. He spotted the road dips, the rivers of the hills as they would call it. He started shooting with his phone, losing the horizon. As he zoomed in, he thought it was even scarier. That's when he knew how and where to shoot. And he came up with the idea of Willa stopping the car on a blind spot. Talk about movie magic. This scene's exactly why Paul Thomas Anderson deserves Best Director. It's one thing to have vision, but it's another to bring it to life. Finally, Best Motion Picture. One battle after another. This is a no-brainer. The film itself is incredibly castic, perfectly paced, and the score might be one of the most underrated aspects of this film. At times, it's used as a vehicle to get us through all 3 acts. And finally, this movie is a period piece, which means it has staying power outside of the Academy. Wrapped inside this comedy, action, and adventure is the political thriller that touches on societal issues currently going on today with ICE. With all the widespread criticism and protests against their overly aggressive methods, whether you're for deportation or against it, this film will resonate with you. And if the Oscars are about rewarding films that define moments, this is that film. All right, before I wrap this up, let's hit some quick takes. These are just some straight up thoughts. Regina Hall and Benicio del Toro. If it wasn't for Teyana Taylor and Sean Penn, I'd probably have them winning Best Supporting Actress and Actor. Regina didn't have a lot of lines, but her eyes did so much of the talking. A great face acting performance. Benicio's a true sensei, cool, calm, and collected. You can tell he studied his revolutionary playbook. He was always dropping gems on Bob throughout the movie as well.
Sensei, please! Courage, Bob. Courage. That's it.
Fun fact, Colonel Lockjaw's second in command and chief interrogator, Danvers, is played by a non-professional actor, James Ratterman. He's a security consult and a former HSI special agent. So if you're wondering why he was so good at interrogating or if it felt real, well, there you have it. Overall, One Battle After Another isn't just a movie of 2025, it is 2025. A movie like this doesn't deserve just one award, it deserves one Oscar after another.